It certainly lets us know that you're looking into doing this. So.
All right. The hour is 7 p.m. having arrived, I'll call to order this regular meeting of Keene City Council. The meeting is being broadcast live on the City of Keene YouTube channel. The video is also streamed on the city's website and is posted to the website by the next business day, barring any technical difficulties. If you'd like to receive an electronic City Council packet to reference while viewing future broadcasts, please contact the City Clerk's office during regular business hours or go to the city's website and subscribe to the city meetings email list. The agenda is also accessible from any mobile device. I would ask that the clerk please call the roll.
Brian J. Lake.
Here.
Michael J. Remy.
Here.
Gladys Johnson.
Here.
Michael Giacomo.
Here.
Randy L. Filio.
Here.
Robert C. Williams. Philip M. Jones.
Here.
Andrew M. Madison.
Here.
Chris C. Roberts.
Here.
Raleigh C. Omerod.
Here.
Bettina A. Chadbourne. Catherine I. Workman.
Here.
Mitchell H. Greenwald.
Here.
Kate M. Bosley.
Here.
Thomas F. Powers.
Here.
Thank you. Councilor Filio, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a couple of announcements tonight. One, we had a successful primary election this past week with lots of volunteers, and our city clerk and her staff did an excellent job as always. I don't know how many elections this is for you, but quite a few.
Quite a few.
But thank you so much, and really it's just great to have the community step up and see everybody volunteering, and all the work that goes into the elections is unbelievable, but very important to making sure that people have confidence in our elections, so I certainly appreciate it. The annual dinner for the fire station is Thursday, October 13th at 6 p.m. I hope all the city councilors mark their calendars. Finance, Organization, and Personnel Committee for that evening will be canceled to allow for more time for the council, staff, and the fire department personnel and retirees to meet, greet, and eat. The request for the parade scheduled for October 9th will be acted upon later in this city council agenda. And with that, I would ask for a motion on the minutes from Councilor Powers and a second by Councilor Bosley, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to accept the minutes from the September 1st, 2022 regular meeting as printed.
Second.
And we have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Bosley. Any discussion on the meeting minutes from the last meeting? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. So I've got a couple of presentations tonight. One, I would like to invite Wesley Felix. He's a member of the community up to the front here. Do we have a microphone? All right. So Wesley Felix is a member of our community, resident of Keene, and he had some involvement in, I think it's a cleanup for after the 9/11 attacks, recovery and rebuild project for the Twin Towers in New York City. And this is our closest city council meeting to the anniversary date of the attacks on 9/11, 21 years ago now. And so Wesley wanted to share this with us. He was gifted an artifact from the Twin Towers, and he just wanted an opportunity to let the city know and let the city council know about this special artifact and share a little bit about it so we can all remember that terrible day.
Hello, everyone. My name is Wesley Felix. Well, I may get emotional, but I just want to share what this piece represents to me. Okay? This World Trade Center piece, to me, represents unity. It was a time when politics, race, and religion meant nothing. Just people around the world comforting those who were hurt and those who lost loved ones. It was a turning point in society when not just New York or the United States, but the world was actually united as one. Comforting and caring for the thousands of people who tragically lost their lives over the evil action of a small group. This peace brought strength in our world. it was an honor to be part of the recovery, rebuild of this project. I was also a survivor too. This tragic moment helped pave a way to make our country's security seriously, to look at our lives and to thank God for what we have. And at that point, it was the love in our hearts that helped and comfort others in the time of need. This was the one event that brought us all together. Now we have division in our lives. Our security is gone, and we are farther apart than ever before. I have shared this piece with my schools in California, showing those across the country that we have been far, even they may have been far away, but it affected people all over the world, and to never forget what we lost, because we dropped our guard and allowed many to die who should have still been alive to date. Now, I moved from New York to New Hampshire in seek of a safer life for my family. I met George Hansel in the spring of 2019. After we bought our home, he welcomed us to the community, and he wasn't in any political position that I knew of. But his greeting made us feel like we made a good choice to invest in our kids' future community so that they can grow and flourish as good people in society. I would like to thank him for his kind ways and his comment to helping this community be a better and safer place. On one last note, I brought this World Trade Center piece up to the town in hopes that it would help in the healing, unity, and a reminder of what's at stake when we lose focus on our community's security and the caring concerns and the safety of our future. That's what I have to say.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Want to get a quick picture? Sure.
Rebecca could take one for us.
Rebecca, you want to take a picture quickly? We'll get the artifact up here. One more. All right, I've got another presentation here, and let's see if Mary Althor could join me up here. So whereas Mary E. Althor's career has spanned every position in the Revenue Collection Office of the Finance Department, from Account Clerk 1 starting July 6, 1993, to Account Clerk 2 on July 1st, 1998, to Deputy Tax Collector as of September 6, 1999, to Revenue Collector effective December 29, 2003, and whereas successful at dealing with unforeseen circumstances with hard work, patience, and good humor, she balanced the fast-paced, high-volume, customer-driven, unpredictable environment with courteous and professional service, keeping abreast of legislative changes, regulation updates, procedural improvements, and technology enhancements to plan for the future. And whereas, having joined the organization at a time when some things were calculated manually on worksheets, Mary saw great transformation and welcomed it, tackling the most challenging situations head-on with an open mind, positive attitude, thoughtful approach, and no complaint. Going well out of her way to ensure that changes were implemented successfully to improve efficiency and to tighten up the internal controls. And whereas her ethical, impartial, and respectful approach to dealing with customers helped her balance empathy with the customer's circumstances, with the firmness necessary to remain focused on resolving the matter at hand, give extra effort to problem solve on a customer's behalf, be sensitive to what is personal financial information versus what is public record, and bear in mind that the Revenue Collection Office might be a person's only interaction with City Hall for a year. And whereas never hesitating to take charge of a situation and carry it through to full completion, even when it would present difficulties, Mary took an active role in issues that were financial in nature and that crossed over departmental or divisional lines in a collaborative way and contributed to implementing new software and significant upgrades with little to no disruption in service. Putting in place the municipal agent program, improving processes related to payment arrangements, tax deeding, and the vehicle registration process, using technology to reduce costs and expand communications, expanding payment methods, assisting assessment when its software, with its software implementation, helping to align department services and objectives with the comprehensive master plan, ensuring staff were cross-trained to enhance service, participating in the Voice Initiative, serving as a Monadnock United Way loaned employee, and documenting all processes. And whereas Mary retired from the City of Keene July 22nd, 2022, just over 29 years of dedicated and honorable service. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Keene hereby extends its sincerest thanks to Mary E. Arthur and wishes her the very best through all of her retirement years. And be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution properly engrossed be presented to Mary in appreciation for her many years of service to the residents of Keene. Anything you want to say? That's fine. Well,
But thank you, and it was an honor to work here.
absolutely.
Thank you,
Mary.
And I also want to say, kept us all out of bankruptcy trouble. Thank you very much.
Very good. So that brings us back to our regular agenda. We have nominations, number 1.
The mayor is nominating Molly Ellis to serve on the Heritage Commission for a term to expire December 31, 2025.
And this will be tabled to our next regular meeting. Confirmations, number 2.
This evening, we'll be confirming the mayor's nomination of Claire Ausler to move from an alternate position on the Energy and Climate Committee to a regular membership. And joining the Energy and Climate Committee as a new alternate would be Charles Redfern. For Claire, the term would expire December 31, 2022, and for Mr. Redfern, December 31, 2023.
I'm looking at Councilor Powers for motion. Councilor Bosley for a second, please.
Been moved to confirm the nominations?
Second.
We have motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Bosley. Any discussion? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Johnson?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Ormerod?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
And that is unanimous. We have number 3.
This is an appointment of a new ad hoc committee, and it would be dealing with the Winchester Street, Lower Winchester Street reconstruction project in partnership with affected residents, local businesses, Keene and Swansea staff, and New Hampshire Department of Transportation. The committee will specifically focus on balancing the needs of all the various project stakeholders and providing a conduit for the community to have their concerns addressed during the design process. The committee will provide advice to the city's consultants through the review of collected data and draft work products. Ultimately, the committee will make a recommendation to the City Council with respect to the scope of improvements and the preferred alternative. And the membership includes Douglas Hamshaw, Trevor Bonnet, Jimmy Tempesta, Christopher McCauley, Doug Fish, Sarah Bollinger, and Jim Lamp.
I'm looking at Councilor Powers for motion. Councilor Bosley for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to confirm the appointments.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Bosley. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Which brings us to committee reports, number 1.
Planning Licenses and Development Committee report relative to Ordinance O 2022-09A. On a vote of 5-0, the Planning, Licenses, and Development Committee recommends the City Council refer Ordinance O-2209A relative to the Land Development Code back to the Joint Planning Board, Planning, Licenses, and Development Committee for a discussion regarding separating the issues in the ordinance.
I'm looking at Counselor Bosley for a motion. Counselor Giacomo for a second, please.
I move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have a motion from Counselor Bosley, seconded by Counselor Giacomo. Counselor Bosley.
Thank you, Your Honor. So this issue gets a little bit further complicated. We heard at PLD that the attorney had brought to our attention that the actual public notice for the public hearing was defective. And with that, we were given a couple of options. So at that point, we were basically put in a position where we could either refer this back to joint committee for further discussion or recommend that council and the mayor set a new public hearing. After hearing all of the comments at that public hearing that we did have here at full council, the committee definitely thinks that the best place for this to go now is to joint. It's really the place where we can have an open dialogue with individuals and do a lot of education and figure out what needs to be changed in this ordinance to kind of bring it back before you guys. And any changes that we would have made would have required it to go back before that committee and the planning board as well. So I think this is the right move.
Any discussion? Yes, Counselor Roberts.
This is, I've been in politics a long time, and this is probably the hottest one. When I left here 2 Thursdays ago, I was leaving with the feeling I couldn't believe what I heard. And I'm going to kind of make it into a teachable moment, because people of color listen very intently. And when I had one individual up there who said the people can live in Troy, they can live in Swansea, and they can live in another place. You know what that means to people of color? You can come and work in this community, but you can't live in this community, and you can't send your kids to our schools in this committee. Secondly, when we were talking about workforce housing are for doctors and nurses that are at the hospital, and more of them are people of color. More CNS wants people, and more of the highly educated people that we're going to require workforce housing are people of color. The college that wants, the 3 big businesses who employ highly educated people in Keene, looking for a place to live in Keene, to send their kids to school in Keene, we were telling them only work in Keene, but get out of Keene. You can't live in Keene, and you can't go to school, send our kids. That may not have been their intent, but I spent the whole time taking notes, and I went over them over and over the last 2 weeks. We have to be really careful the message that we send, okay? I understand people don't want any changes in their backyard. Well, if you don't want changes in your backyard, defend your backyard. But don't come up and tell people applying what you were saying. That is not the right way to do, and that's not the image that we need to project for the city of Keene. Those are the people, or highly educated people, that bring added value to our community, and we want them to live in our community, and we want them to contribute to the growth of our community. That's what I felt when I left, and that's why I'm standing up here nervous and shaky, because I don't want to hear that again. It was heartbreaking.
Any additional comments, or Councilor Greenwald?
Just very brief.
Light on. You'll notice on your desk, there's 2 letters from me, both almost identical. The first one was an attempt to get it, get it to the PLD chair, and it got lost in technology. And the second one was an attempt to put it on the agenda, and that got lost in the cloud too. So just read one of them, please. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Further questions, comments? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? One opposed. Number 2.
Planning Licensing and Development Committee report relative to a further amendment to the rules of order dealing with remote access. On a vote of 5-0, the Planning Licenses and Development Committee recommends placing the request for an amendment to the rules regarding remote access on more time to allow city staff to develop proposed language to Section 4, considering Councilor Greenwald's letter and the PLD discussion.
So it's unusual to request a motion for more time, but in this case, we are, just to give Councilor Bosley a chance to elaborate a little bit on this. But Councilor Bosley for a motion, Councilor Giacomo for a second, please.
I move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Bosley, seconded by Councilor Giacomo. Councilor Bosley.
So this is just a general request for more time, but we are also asking that the city attorney be allowed to draft additional clarifying policy. We had a very good discussion at PLD. I think we got to the root of what Councilor Greenwald really wanted with his letter. Was he created a discussion about a lot of the nuances of this rule. This is a brand new rule. We haven't had this in our rules of order before, and it just needed some fine tuning. I think there's some intricacies that we can get spelled out on paper, which will make it run a lot smoother, and we'll all be able to move forward. We just need to get a little bit more time to make that happen.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Number 3.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to Spectrum service issues. This is an informational report.
And this will be filed into the record as informational. I'd give the council just a reminder that FOP has updates on this issue scheduled for October 13th and November 10th. Councilor Filio.
Thank you. Just briefly, for those who didn't make it to the FOP committee meeting, Spectrum representative from the corporate office did attend. They actually did acknowledge there's issues in Keene. Surprise. They are acknowledging they're working on that, and we did request through the FOP committee that they send a representative back once every 30 days to address us, not just in an informational form, but to physically attend an FOP meeting once every 30 days till the issue is resolved. If any of your constituents get a hold of you and they've got a problem, is to go through the city attorney or the city manager's office and through the IT department. And if all else fails, send it to me and I'll forward it. We know there's an issue, but lo and behold, it looks like it's going to get fixed. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 4.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to the Primex 3 Contribution Assurance Program dealing with property and liability insurance. On a vote of 5-0, the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee recommends the city manager be authorized to do all things necessary to enter into and execute an agreement extending participation with Primex 3 in a multi-year contribution assurance program through FY26 that has provided predictable contributions and stable property and liability insurance coverage.
And I'm looking to Councilor Powers for a motion. Councilor Bosley for a second, please. Oh, Councilor Powers, Councilor Remy for a second, please.
I was going to let it go.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to carry out the intent of the committee report.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Remy. Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. Human Resources Director Fox came forward to the committee with this item. It's much like one we saw several weeks back, but it's working with our contributed assurance program, and it's our risk pool of insurances that we have had very good luck with, very good programs, very good luck with the rates. However, every once in a while, we have a spike because, for accident's sake, it means that there are going to be some needs for the cover the liability. We need to also make sure that we're covered for the property liability and workers' comp insurance. So this is the authorization to execute the agreement to extend through FY26 with a guarantee that the cap will be around 7% of increase. If our risk factors increase over that period of time, we're still going to be able to work with this amount of money. So this is a good program. It's proven to be successful for the last few years, and it's recommended that the City Council authorize the manager to sign for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. City Manager.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just a few updates and announcements for you this evening. Today, you should have received a press release announcing the upcoming appointment of our next police chief. Captain Steve Stewart will serve as our next chief, effective Monday, September 19th. Captain Stewart has served as a member of the Keene Police Department for the past 18 years, the last 7 years of which he has been a member of the command staff, serving in his role as Captain of Field Operations. An interview team made up of both city leadership staff and community representatives unanimously agreed that Captain Stewart is an excellent choice for chief. The interview team described Steve as highly qualified, someone who leads with integrity, is collaborative and reflective, and will serve the department and the community well. Joining me on the interview team from Keene State College is Dr. President Treadwell, Franklin Pierce Chief Diversity Officer Dr. Pierre Morton, Dan Langell, our City Assessor, Court Blomquist, our Public Works Director, and of course, our City Attorney, Tom Mullins. So it's my honor to promote Captain Stewart to Chief. I really am confident that he will continue the great work of our police department into the future. And the fact that he's inquisitive in his nature, it leaves him open to new ideas and seeking greater understanding of all issues, and that is what we need. This will serve us well as we work to ensure we are a welcoming and safe community for all to live, work, and play in. So Steve couldn't be here tonight with short notice for him, but he will be here on October 6th at your council meeting when retired Chief Russo is presented with his retirement proclamation. So that'll be a nice night for everyone. A quick COVID update for you. On September 9th, the emergency management team met with Superintendent Rob Millay and Keene State President Melinda Treadwell. We brought the group back together to discuss how the return to class was going and what impacts COVID was having. Superintendent Millay reported that the return to school was going well, and in regards to COVID, they are following the CDC guidelines. They administer tests only for symptomatic students and will do so as long as the state continues to provide testing supplies free to districts. Their policies now include the acceptance of home testing results, and if a parent prefers to conduct their own test in place of the school doing it, they will send a home testing kit home with the student. Keene State College is following a similar model. They are no longer doing surveillance testing, except in the case of an outbreak in a targeted population. They are only testing symptomatic students. UNH has shut down their testing lab, and so Keene State has a contract with a third party for testing. They are also providing the self-swabbing kits as needed and plan to stand up vaccination clinics on campus. So far, a really good start to the school year. Unfortunately, the Revenue Office was forced to close Monday and Tuesday due to unforeseen circumstances, illness of employees in the office, and the death of a staff member's immediate family. It was something that could not be avoided. The office partially reopened on Wednesday, assisting residents by appointment only and squeezing in some additional walk-in customers. This was accomplished by utilizing a staff member certified by the state for motor vehicle registrations who had taken a new position in the city about a month ago in a different department. We will continue taking appointments through Friday. Monday, we expect to be once again fully staffed. The Revenue Collections Office would like to extend a special thank you to the staff member pitching in from the assessing department and to our assessor for allowing her to do so. So thank you, Dan, and thank you to Lonnie Bixby. And to the town of Swansea, Town Clerk Heather Estrella for assisting the city of Keene in helping our customers with those motor vehicle situations that required immediate assistance. They helped to fill in during this time, and we appreciate that assistance and the patience of all of the customers as we support the office through this time. On your desk this evening, you have just a little blog post. This was great. It's the UNH Trails to Downtown blog post, and I printed a copy of it for you. This is about the downtown study here in Keene. Director Bohannon had done a presentation about the results of this study at the MSFI committee back in April. When we think about trails, we often focus on the health benefits and quality of life impacts, but don't often discuss the positive economic impacts of a trail. This report focused on ways to make stronger connections between our 40-plus miles of trails to our downtown as a way to boost our businesses. And if anyone is interested in reading the full report, it's posted on the city's website on the Parks page, and the link is entitled Strengthening Connections, Downtowns and Trails. Yesterday, we had a very successful ribbon cutting for the Cheshire Rail Trail, and thank you, Councilor Greenwald, for attending. This was at Summit Road to celebrate the completion of this phase of the project, the Cheshire Rail Trail Phase 3. This project improved trail infrastructure from Hurricane Road to Summit Ridge Road via the Amy Brown Trail. The project helps connect our neighborhoods to downtown and to the business community. 2 trailhead parking lots were built as part of this project at Whitcomb's Mill Road and Summit Road and at the intersection of Park Avenue. And that is it for me.
Thank you. Which brings us to city officer and department reports. Number 1.
This is a memorandum from our fire chief relative to the 2022 annual fire prevention parade scheduled to happen on October 9th. The memorandum is asking for the council's permission to use city property. This would require a suspension of the rules to allow action on it this evening.
So I'm looking at Councilor Bosley for a motion on suspending the rules with Councilor Giacomo for a second, please.
I move to suspend the rules of order to allow action upon the request for use of city property for the 2022 annual fire prevention parade.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Bosley, seconded by Councilor Giacomo. Councilor Bosley, you have anything else on this?
This is just coming before you tonight because of the date of the parade.
All right. Any discussion on the suspension of the rules? Seeing none, will the clerk please call the roll? I'd remind the council it's 2/3 majority.
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Johnson?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Omrod?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
And that's unanimous. So I'm looking for Councilor Bosley for the actual motion and Councilor Giacomo for a second, please.
I move to recommend that the fire department be granted permission to use city property for the 2022 annual fire prevention parade to be held on Sunday, October 9th, 2022.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Bosley, seconded by Councilor Giacomo. Councilor Bosley?
So for this one, because I'm a little bit out of the loop, I'd like to defer to Councilor Powers, who is not head of the committee, but does have all the intimate details.
Thank you. For those of you who remember the good old days with fire prevention parades, they were big, they were long, and they were a lot of fun. And over time, it's changed a little bit, but the last 2 or 3 years, the effect of COVID has put just a wet blanket on everything. And it's the effort on the part of the fire department and some retirees this year to get this parade back up to pretty large and pretty nice. So every counselor will have a seat on the review stand downtown on that day. Please be there. And then join us at the rec center, the Fuller Park, right in front of the rec center, after the parade for a few awards and some refreshments. The parade route has changed a little bit this year. It'll start at CNS on Optical Avenue, where it did for many, many years. It's a little bit easier for the assembly. Come down Marlborough Street, up Main Street, straight up Washington Street, and at the rec center. We hope everybody can be there. We expect a large turnout. It's been advertised pretty widely, and so far the response by many other departments, local and some out of state, and many antique apparatus will be there. So bring the kids, line Main Street, and have a great day, but approve it first, please.
Thank you very much. So with that, is there any further discussion on this? Yes, Councilor Giacomo.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I love this parade. I marched in it probably 25 years ago or so when I was in Keene High in the marching band there. Love this parade. However, I haven't had too much of a chance to say anything about this is an entire parade for the fire department, but yet not a single representative from the fire department showed up to our Memorial Day parade this year. And I was a little bit miffed by that, and I understand that times have been really tough with all the extra work that's been going on, all the tough and hardness and staffing and everything. I get all that, but I would like to see if we're going to have an entire parade, which I understand this is a historical parade, again, marching it many years ago. But I'd like to see the fire department come back in and actually, support the Memorial Day parade again too. That was real disappointing to see that, and there were a lot of disappointed kids out there. So that's my only comment on this. I will support it, but.
All right, thank you. Further discussion or comments? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. And so that brings us to board and commission reports, number 1.
We have a resignation from a member of the Congregate Living and Social Services Licensing Board. This is coming from the Community Development Department. It is for Martha Curtis, who has been a member of the board since its inception.
And I'm looking at Council Powers for motion. Councilor Bosley for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to accept the resignations with regret and appreciation for the service.
Second.
We have a motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Bosley. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. We have one item requesting more time. More time will be granted. Which brings us to ordinances for first reading, number 1.
We have a memorandum from the Assistant City Manager, Human Resources Director. It's relative to an ordinance on probationary firefighters, and it is ordinance O-20-2022-13, an ordinance relating to probationary firefighters.
Must be referred to the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee, number 2.
Memorandum from our city attorney, and he's introducing some changes to the ordinances dealing with use of Central Square and Common and Railroad Square. It's contained in ordinance O-20-22-14, an ordinance relating to the use of Central Square, Common, and Railroad Square.
And this will be referred to the Planning Licenses and Development Committee, which brings us to ordinances for second reading, number 1.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report recommending the adoption of ordinance O-2022-10 with an effective date of November 1, 2022. And we have ordinance O-2022-10, an ordinance relating to water and sewer utility charges. I will note that there were several Scribner's errors, and I'm sorry I haven't had an opportunity to correct those, but I will before the mayor signs the ordinance.
Hopefully not a decimal point in the wrong place.
No.
All right. Looking at Councilor Powers for a motion. Councilor Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to adopt ordinance 2022-10 with an effective date of November 1st, 2022.
Second.
A motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Remy. Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is a topic we've discussed several times in the last few weeks, and we're back here this evening with a very modest package in terms of the increase. I try to remember all the analogies that the director had on exactly what it was equal to. And Monday morning, I got a 49% increase in my cup of coffee, so this is a bargain. It's about 2.4% to the average consumer, those folks that use a moderate amount of water and wastewater throughout the year. And the rate you often see when you just read the rate, it's the annual rate. It's not the bill you're going to get every quarter. So that really threw people off on trying to figure it out to see what it meant to them. But essentially, the residential consumer, the low consumer, which, 2 or 3 people in a house and maybe water the lawn once in a while and certainly keep the flowers going, it's a difference for the annual amount about $6.84. So the question always is, well, why are we raising the rate again? Really, the cost of doing business, as we all know. To run the sewer and the water system, we have to pay those prices the same as we do on the street. And a lot of what's being done to make sure that we have quality water and we remove the sewer water and effluent in a safe fashion is utilities, it's electricity, it's chemicals, it's vehicles that use fuel and all that. So, we're not raising it much more than what is necessary to ensure that the budget is balanced as it relates to water and sewer. And remember, this is not on a tax rate, this is on the ratepayers. So some folks in the city do not use water and sewer, they have wells. It doesn't affect them, but for those of us that are on water and sewer, this is a modest increase. It was passed unanimously by the FOP, and I hope that the city council will do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Filio?
I'm going to be voting against this ordinance tonight. I'm asking that maybe we can hold off on it
Councilor
for
Filio, can you
at
grab?
least a year. Oops, sorry.
I'll repeat that. I'm going to vote against this, and I'm hoping we can hold off on this for at least a year. As we all know, many of our constituents have exceeded their ability to pay even basic expenses right now. Between inflation, home heating oil, which is exploding, the doubling of electric rates, basic inflation in general. For the first reason there, that is one of the reasons that I'm asking that we hold off on that. I mentioned this even when we were talking about parking tickets. People have legitimately exceeded their ability to pay. Not at their ability to pay, exceeded it. I understand this is a small amount, but it's another small amount that many of our constituents can't afford to pay. Now, however we figure it out and hold it off for a year, so be it. I'm sure we can absorb it within the city budget, but I know many people cannot afford it within their budget. The second reason is basic economics. For the last several years, we've told our constituents, look, cost of water is going up, cost of everything is going up. What we need to do, you need to get efficient toilets, water efficient shower heads, water efficient faucets. Don't use so much water washing your cars. Don't water your lawns. Cut back. So what is their reward? Increased rates. So basically what we've told them was, if you use a lot of water, your rates are going to be high. But if you use less water, your rates are going to be higher. That's not supply and demand economics. That's voodoo economics. That's probably one of the only issues where you can see where supply and demand doesn't work. Use less, pay more. So what are we telling our constituents for all the efforts that they made when they expended money on toilets, shower heads, faucets, everything? We're just telling them, you didn't use enough water, we're going to raise your rates. That's the second reason that I'll be voting against this. I think we can hold off on an increase for a year and show our constituents, we hear you, we understand that the rates are too high on everything, we'll hold off for a year. Thank you.
Further comments? Councilor Jones?
Thank you. Well, Randy took most of what I was going to say. I remember we used to have they were like open house nights, was called community nights, right up here, where you just invite the community to come, and each department had a table set up, and our water department was promoting the very things that Randy talked about, restrictors for your faucets and your showers, more economic wash machines and dishwashers. And as Randy said, they listened. I don't know anyone in the private sector who, when your business goes down, you just raise your prices. It doesn't work that way. I think we can work out a more effective plan, maybe even a flex plan where during the busy hours during the day, the rates go up and they stay down at the lower use hours at night, maybe from 5 p.m. to 7 a.m. or something like that, where the impact isn't being hit on the mom and pop places. I don't know, I just can't see doing this right now. As Randy said, everybody's getting hit with all these increases, and we're actually punishing the people who did what we asked them to do. So thank you.
I have a question for the city manager. My understanding is this rate increase was contemplated in the budget that was adopted. So what are the ramifications if this is not approved?
Yes, that is true. So typically, your ordinance adjustment is done closer to your budget time because you made the decisions related to how much you wanted to spend in water and sewer back when you voted in the budgets. One of the conversations at FOP was how to break those costs down by fixed and volumetric rates, but keeping the total amount of revenue the same, because our revenue does need to match our expenses in the budget. This rate adjustment will cover the budget that we're currently in that began on July 1st. The rate adjustment is for the water department, and the water department is the department that is struggling the most in terms of having any sort of fund balance or equity in its account. The water fund has about $1 million, but that is equal to about 110 days of operating expenses for the water department, where you should really have about 270 days of operating expenses in your fund balance. So you can see we're pretty short in the water fund, and not increasing the rates would definitely be a challenge. Water and sewer departments, as Councilor Powers mentioned, the majority of their costs are pretty much fixed. There's not a lot of room to move things around. The cost of your chemicals are increasing. The cost of the electricity is increasing. All of these things are fixed when you're processing the water or the sewer department, and so it makes it very difficult to make adjustments. The place that you have room to make adjustments in the future is how you decide to spend your funds on capital expenditures. And as you all know, there's lots of needs related to the capital side of the house as well. We just went through a process, we're still going through with the New Hampshire Department of Environmental Service. You remember the NPDES permit process, which is going to make it more expensive to process some of these things because they have set some new limits for us that we tried to challenge and we're not successful at doing. So there's not a lot of room in terms of the water fund and money left in the fund balance to absorb any sort of a hit. And that, I think, is, I think one of the things that we're probably most concerned about. We still encourage people to conserve water. It will help them overall, but that does not mean the cost of processing and providing water and sewer is going to go down. The volumetric cost is going to continue to go up in the future, unless the cost of chemicals and electricity and all those other things start to go down. And I think one of the things that we've seen in the water and sewer department in particular is that for many years we held the rate and we didn't make adjustments. And I think that, now we're at the point where that's much harder to do because we've eaten away at our fund balance accounts. And so, you do have a budget. If you did not make the rate adjustment, we would not have the revenue to equal the budget, which would mean a hit to the water department fund balance, because that is the rate that we're proposing that needs to be adjusted.
All right. Council Remy, and then Council Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was typing away. I was trying to do math on it based on some of the rates that we saw. I got some information on what the actual usage was for most of our constituents in the area. Thank you, Public Works. 74% of our population uses less than 1,800 cubic feet from the analysis I was given, and 90% are on 5/8 inch lines, which means that they're going to see an actual reduction in the fixed amount. So when they do save water, if they reduce their water, they are going to see a reduction. And the annual increase for the average of those 74% that I'm looking at is $14. So it's $3.57. So if the bulk of the increase is not on the residential side, it's on the commercial side, I understand where you're coming from. Everybody's stretched, but this isn't, I don't know that we're going after the right thing if this is what we're fighting for. So
Yeah,
if this is going to keep us
and I can
balanced.
tell you, I think a lot of the reduction in usage is coming from the commercial users. And that's been a trend over the years, because I was one of them. I was a user that was using tons of water, and it was a huge expense for us, and we've invested money to cut our water usage almost down to zero. And I know that there are others, industrial users, that are facing that same thing. So what I see happening here is actually the commercial users are going to be paying a little bit more of their share, even though they've been reducing their actual usage quite a bit. So I'm thinking that this is a more fair deal for the residential ratepayers. But Councilor Jones.
Thank you, Your Honor. I understand we have to do this, and I am going to vote for it. I mean, I don't want the department to be a shortfall, but I think we should take the business approach to it in years to come and be a little more innovative. Every business, when your business is slow, you don't raise your prices, right? You adjust accordingly. Everybody has to do that. I think we should maybe look outside the box sometimes and do other things. I was just making suggestions.
Thank you. Councilor Roberts and then Greenwald.
But again, isn't this just like the parking? It's an enterprise fund that has to stay balanced. If we don't balance it, then we have to take it out of the general fund. So if we're not making the users pay, then we could end up making a lot of non-users cover the difference.
Councilor Greenwald.
Well, I'll make it really short, because you said almost everything. You said more, and you just said some more. What I do want to say, I'll turn my thing on. I had some real issues with this, and I want to really commend the Director of Public Works for a fantastic presentation. And I don't know if you all have it in your packet, but it's all these analysis that Council Remy's picking at and explained a lot to me. The time to be having this discussion is when we're adopting the budget, because that's where we're making the numbers. And that's when we should be talking about parking meter rates, not now. The actual matrix that's used to generate the money, I have some issues with it. I think maybe we all have some issues, but that's what we selected. I was not happy with the idea of charging for the fire line. And as the director pointed out, well, if you don't charge it there, you're going to charge it somewhere. And instead of flagging the fire lines, maybe odd number houses would pay a little more or something. So it's just a method of raising the money. It hurts, and unfortunately, the budget has to be balanced. What is needed for chemicals and processes and the staff and the electricity has to be paid. And if we wanted to cut back on some capital projects, we should have done it at the budget. So I would suggest that next year, perhaps, we have this discussion before the budget, so then that would give you enough lead time to come up with numbers.
Thank you. Councilor Madison?
Thank you, Your Honor. I may not know much about business, but I know a lot about water. Our town we have to provide drinking water to our residents, and we have to have a certain amount of water available for use at any point in time, not just for fire protection, but also for sensitive users like nursing homes, hospitals, medical facilities. They have to have access to high-quality, clean water at all times. Part of providing that service, of having that ready access, safe, clean drinking water, is what's in this rate increase. So we have to pay for these chemicals. We have to pay for treatment processes. We have to pay for equipment. We have to pay for personnel to operate that equipment, and fewer people are getting into this industry, by the way. So we have to have a stable balance to fund all of this, which is why we're doing this. So I'm going to vote for it, and, you know, it is a reluctant yes, but I hope you all will join me. Thank you.
Further discussion? Councilor Giacomo?
Thank you, Your Honor. I think Councilor Filio brings up some great points about this. This year has been absolutely brutal, as everyone knows, as far as rate increases literally across the board in every facet of people's lives. The problem is we don't know the future. And if we don't do small incremental increases, then next year or the year after, we're going to have, at some point, we're going to have to pay the piper. And that's my only concern with this. Believe me, I would love to put this off for a year. And I think people, of all the years in the last probably 2 decades, this year has been probably the worst for people's budgets. But next year and the year after, when do we know is the right time to increase rates? And whenever that time does come, it's going to be even more. And that's my only issue with it. So again, it is reluctant. I think Council Filio brings up a lot of great points. But we could make it could be an even worse one down the road if we don't do these small incremental changes over time. And hopefully it is $14. People's usage doesn't increase too much this year. But that's my only thought on this.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Johnson?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
No.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Omerod?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
So I got 13 in favor, 1 opposed. The ordinance is adopted. Number 2.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to Ordinance O 2022-12, an ordinance relating to cemeteries.
We'll file the report. Councilor Powers for motion. Councilor Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Move to adopt ordinance 2022-12.
Second.
A motion from Councilor Powers, seconded by Councilor Remy. Councilor Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. Andy Bohannon from Parks, Recreation, Cemeteries, and Facilities Department joined us to discuss this proposal. And yes, there is an increase. It's a fairly modest increase. And how did they get to this point in terms of arriving at the increases? We did a survey of comparable cemeteries and the services that those cemeteries provide that are much like what we do here. And the quality of services, top quality by our staff. They're watching their expenses very carefully, yet they produce a great-looking cemetery throughout the city. So these are costs that we're all facing. So there's an increase across the board in several areas. And there's some changes in the procedures that are used, making burials available on Saturdays and Sundays when necessary. And there haven't been any increases in this particular area in some time. So yes, again, unfortunately, it's coming all at the same time. But it's a necessity for us to keep appraising or keeping abreast of our expenses. And once again, this is just another area where, we're using utilities. We're using personnel, using backhoes, we're using trucks, any number of things that the price is going up. And if we're getting charged more and we don't raise the rates, then we're going to deficit on that part of the budget. So excellent presentation by the director. Finance Committee voted unanimously to recommend this increase, and I hope you'll do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Johnson?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
No.
Counselor Wayne? Counselor Jones? Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Omerod?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Counselor Bosley?
Yes.
Counselor Powers?
Yes.
So I have 13 in favor, 1 opposed. The ordinance is adopted. Resolutions, number 1.
And this is a memorandum from the Assistant City Manager, Human Resources Director, and it is relative to the appreciation of Diane C. Richard Stoddard upon her retirement, and it is contained in Resolution R 2022-28, a resolution in appreciation of Diane C. Richard Stoddard upon her retirement.
Looking at Council Powers for a motion, Council Bosley for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to adopt Resolution R 2022-28.
Second.
A motion from Council Powers, seconded by Council Bosley. Council Powers?
Well, here we are again. Another one of our folks is going to enjoy every day not coming to work. But another employee that spent a lot of time working for the city, providing services for a number of people. A lot of people have come through that office in her career here, and she's done a wonderful job. And this is a very appropriate way for us to reward her, and I hope she'll come up in a couple of weeks and speak, and she will speak. She'll speak in front of us, and we should really appreciate all the work she's given. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, are you ready for a vote? All those in favor? Opposed? It's unanimous. Which brings us to our final item of the evening, number 2.
Finance Organization and Personnel Committee report relative to Resolution R 2022-32. Committee is recommending the adoption of the resolution, and it reads, Resolution R 2022-32, a resolution relating to the appropriation and expenditure of funds from the sale of property to provide funds for the Airport Fuel Farm Capital Project.
We'll file the report. Council Powers for a motion. Council Remy for a second, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move for the adoption of Resolution 2022-32.
Second.
A motion from Council Powers, seconded by Council Remy. Council Powers.
Thank you, Your Honor. This has to do with the fuel project down at the airport. As you recall, this has been on the books as a project for quite some time. And it's fairly complicated when you mix aircraft, fuel, areas that have to be redeveloped. So the project's been designed, and it required some more safety features to be appropriate, which has raised the cost of the project. So the method to finance this is to capture those funds that have been made available through the sale of property at the airport. The sale of that property brings in revenue, but there's a certain amount of that revenue that needs to be maintained for the FAA projects, because the money came from the FAA to purchase it. So the old green hangar and the property formerly the Alps were two of the properties, and then the third part of it was the two pieces. Okay. So the amount of money raised through those sales was $441,000, and the excess of that amount, in other words, the money that doesn't have to be reserved for future FAA projects, amounts to, with interest, a total of $54,922. And if you pass this resolution, that'll move that money over to the fuel project, and that can be finished up before the snow starts flying. And that'll be one major project at the airport that'll be completed. It's been on the books for quite some time. And quite frankly, people may not believe this, it does have an effect on what kind of aircraft and what kind of numbers of people flying in there has. When you've got readily available fuel that's easy to get, people will stop in there, and now they can stop and go to the restaurant too. So please pass this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion? Yes, Councilor Madison.
Thank you, Your Honor. Just to be clear, I'm in favor of this, and I think we should support it, and perhaps I should have asked this question during the FOP meeting, but just for the city manager, why were these items not included in the original project design?
City Manager?
From my understanding, the engineer who put the project together did not put them in. And I can't explain to you why he did not include them in the original project. And when we were starting the project, then it was noted by, I think it was DES, that we needed to add those safety features.
Further questions, comments? Councilor Jones?
Can I just ask, out of curiosity, was there incentive with the Swansea ERZ zone that got this moving? Was that part of that at all?
No.
Okay, I just didn't know.
Oop. Remind the council this does require a 2/3 majority vote, and I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Counselor Lake?
Yes.
Counselor Remy?
Yes.
Counselor Johnson?
Yes.
Counselor Giacomo?
Yes.
Counselor Filio?
Yes.
Counselor Jones?
Yes.
Counselor Madison?
Yes.
Counselor Roberts?
Yes.
Counselor Ormerod?
Yes.
Counselor Chadbourne?
Yes.
Counselor Workman?
Yes.
Counselor Greenwald?
Yes.
Counselor Bosley? Yes. Counselor Powers?
Yes.
And that is unanimous. And that brings to an end our regular agenda. There is no non-public. I want to thank everyone for their time and attention this evening. We stand adjourned.